Hello, this is Abhilya Rajendra, lecturer in English from Parliamentary, Pedagogy. I would like to share my topic about the resume writing. Nowadays, we come to know that there are similar words we have been observed: resumes, biodatas, and curriculum vitae. So, what it may be, we come to know that what is the important role that plays in our day-to-day life, because after getting some sort of experience, that means certificates, you may go for the interviews. Resume plays an important role. Uh, it's just like a ticket to an interview. And we come to know that biodata, which is very consistent, biodata is different and curriculum vitae is different, and resumes are, they are totally different from all these three. So when we come to know about the biodata is a small information about the personal details of a particular person who is going to attend an interview. And the next thing is curriculum vitae. Curriculum vitae is also consists some of the qualities, certificates or other informations about their SSC, and all the things shall be represented in by curriculum vitae. Resume is which is a good impact of the speaker. Why do we go to the preferable thing of resume means, if an institution or in any industry, if the uh, owner of the company wants to know, that means he wants to get an employee who is really very helpful to the company or very helpful to the industry, they need some persons. And resume, a man who is going to attend the interview, the candidate, or we can say that a candidate who is going to attend the interview, he must be known about the company at first, because and he has to be very sure about the company, and he has to be get some information about that particular company, and what how can, that means how can he help in the development of the company. That means a candidate has to go through with his wider range of knowledge, and he has to present the information, small information about the background of the company and how it's going to work, and what are the aims and objectives of the company, and how you are really helpful, and how you are really your hand and your teamwork and your management and your leadership can be helpful to the company, that you have to be presented in the interviews or in resumes. And when we look about the resume, how to build your resume for the workshop, it means you are going to work. And now uh, when we go through with resumes, there are different parts, different kinds of resumes that we can see. But suppose if you are writing a resume to an institution like a school or a college or whatever it may be, and these type of educational institutions can offer the resumes, and you have to be very clear about your point and how you are going to help, and what is the skill that you can have, and what is the knowledge that you can have that should be presented in the interview. And already I told you that resume is one of the simple biodata form, simple information form that may consist your ability and your knowledge and your certificates and your skills can be represented here. And what is resume? Before going to that, you will see that what is resume. Define what a resume is. There are two types of resumes. Resume formats. There are two types of resumes: resume format and the content. Resumes of format and content. And most of the candidates who are going to appear for the jobs, it is the first impact. That means we can say that impression. The first impression should be with the resume that can be presented in the employers who is going to job, who is going to give you job for the candidate. That means resume has it can has a first impact on the mind of the person who is going to give job. resumes, objectives, and other career profiles that can be seen. And there are helpful tips when emailing and scanning for the resumes also can be represented here. And today we are going to discuss what about the resume, and there are two kinds of resumes, and the formats and the content of resumes, and resume objectives, and career profile is also discussed here today, and how we are going to make the helpful tips to mailing or scanning the email, and how we are going to send our resumes. And most of the uh, times, the people who are really interested to send the resumes, they are going to the WhatsApp, Kaizala, and Telegram, and all that. They are following it. So when we look about the resume and how to build our resume, so you will also able to find these kind of opportunities, these kind of resumes that can create a job for different space and creates a professional cover to the little. You can learn from here how to create job preference pages and how to create professional cover letter to accompany your resume. That means without accompanying a covering letter, it cannot be a good format for writing sending resumes, and thanking letter for the employees is also you can see the interviews. And look at the best thing that we have to know that already I told you that the first impression is the best impression, and try to know that don't think that definitely you will get the second chance for anything else. So whenever chance comes to it at your doorsteps, and don't try to leave them, don't try to leave them, and try to catch the first chance. That way you can get out of your problems, and you will get a good and wonderful best job for your sake. And you never get a second chance to create a first impression. That means first impression is the first impression, and it cannot be created with the second chance. That means don't think that definitely you will get a second chance to win something else. So try to follow only one simple and mindful thought of the first impression while you are. And as well as we know that in some of the most of the interviews we can say that most of the interviews we can simply say that your body language has played it can be played 80% of important role in your interview skills. So when we look about the interview skills, that's a different topic, and there are so many important tips for discussing about the interview tips. And here while we are discussing about the resume, it is the first impression that can create in the mind of the person who is going to conduct your interview. And try to follow some of the important things. That is resume is the first impact. Resume is the first impact or impression that can create a best impression of the candidate who is going to attend for the interview, or who is going to seek job. Your resume is one of the first impression that is the potential of the employer. That means how you are going to show your capability that can be represented in your resumes. And a resume is a short account, like 1 or 2 pages of your experience and qualifications and achievements. And as we all know that here we are not going to discuss about the biodata, your personal information, your ability and your background and your skills. It's all that can be presented in curriculum vitae, and most probably biodata we can say that our personal information, where do we live and where do we where we are from, and what about the family background, and it's all what we can say about the biodata and curriculum vitae. But resume, it may consist 1 or 2 pages that shows your qualifications and experience and achievements only, and it shows some extent of personal skills. It shows some extent of personal skills about the knowledge of the computer and knowledge of everything, knowledge of your skill about the tally and whatever it may be. That's all. What about the software side? And it is the goal to capture the reader's interest. And try to know that it's your goal to capture the reader's interest means it has to, the reader has to, if a reader has to read a resume, he has to be some sort of a good mind towards your resume, because appearing a simple resume, that means a simple resume can create a very good impact. And don't go through with the lengthy words, lengthy sentences, and almost all what we can say that a difficult vocabulary in your resume cannot be create a good impact. So it has to capture the reader's interest. Your resume has to capture the reader's interest, and try to write the simple words that can be that can be understandable by each and everyone, and simple vocabulary and simple sentences that may be create a good impact, and moreover it can be capture the interest of the reader. And if the resume can capture the interest of the reader, and it can create a good impact on the in the interviews also. And most of the resumes get 20 to 30 seconds and scanned by the reader. And that means the reader who reads your resume, he must be follow only one, two steps that can read about your professional background, about your personal experience, about your qualifications. He must be concentrated on the main points what he wants to do. That means, and another important thing that you have to know that the reader is also, he is going to concentrate on a particular thing, that how you are going to help the company, and how, what are your skills and what are your abilities that can help our company, that the reader can be seen, and it must have enough impact to grab the attention and the of the perspectives of the employer. It can grab the attention. It has to be, the resume has to be grab the attention of the employer, and he can definitely know that how you are going to help. That means how you are going to help to the company in the development. And the employers wants to know, and the main things that employer wants to know, that can be, that has to be represented in your resume. Otherwise, if they take a man who is if they select a man who is not really helpful for their company, and it's not a good thing for themselves. So, and what they look for. And if you are writing a resume, don't try to forward each and every forward a simple resume that can be useful for each and every interview. And companies, there are so many different companies. We can see there are so many different institutions. We can see that, and they need different kinds of personalities and different kinds of employers, and who are they really helpful for their company in the developing of their company. So try to change your resume as according to the company which you are going to send. The company, which company you are going to send your resume. And what can you do for me? Employer can see that, a reader of the resume can see that, what can you do for himself, and how can you help for the company? How can you improve our operations? How can you improve my operations? He can see that. And can you make me money? Whether he is taking a candidate, an employer, and how is going to help the companies, that is also most important thing. And they can look for that. If they are providing 20,000 or 40,000 salaries for you, and you need to help with the company up to the 80,000 or 1 lakh for the month, as a candidate, you has to earn for the company, and that plays a important role of developing of that particular company, and that they must be look forward it, and saving the time, saving my time. The employer can see that, how can I save my time with the help of you as a candidate, and keep the customers happy. And they look forward for these. And your resume must not only show you the skills that you have, it must be demonstrate the success. So your resume must not only show your skill. So each and every person can have skills, that's a different task, but it must be demonstrated for the success. And there are two types of resumes are there. When we look about this resumes, some extents we can say that there are chronological order of resumes, and there are functional orders of resumes. And we'll see what they can do in what we can represent in chronological order of the resumes. It is the most common type of the resume that we can see in normal way of the normal type of resume. It lists previous jobs and dates, and most recent jobs the first. So it can easily represent the previous dates and the jobs that what we have done about our experience part, and how we can done the good thing. If the difference, it is identify the work, accomplishment, and skills connected to each job, and easier to prepare is generally successful. And in some of the interviews, they're going to the reader or the interviewer going to ask the important thing that if a man added some of the experience just in the first list of the job or experience, and the interview asked a question like this. They would like to ask some questions like, why do you left the job? Why do you left your previous job? And you should be mention about the clarification of why you left the job. And that's the most important thing that in most of the interviews they would like to ask about these important things, and it is easier to prepare generally in a successful manner about this resume. And format of your resume is, you can carry or you can arrange a variety of formats. However, most resumes follows this type of order. That means most of the resumes will follow these simple tips, and the format is like that. First of all, we would like to explain about our contact information, and it should be very clear, and it should be uh, at the first. At first, it can be create an impact. Your contact information should be very clear, and don't go through with the telephone number, that cell phone number that you cannot be used in your uh, after after sending your resume. If you are not able to use your cell phone, don't put the number in that particular resume. Because most of the times we are going to observe that some candidates who are attending for interview, they simply send the resume to email or on WhatsApp, and simply they are sending a mobile number, that means the contact information, which is very wrong. So it cannot create a good impact, and simply they would like to neglect you while you are going to attend the interview. Because if you are attending interview, you should be in contact with the employer or interviewer, the reader. So objectives and careers also about your profile, your job profile, or your education must be represented in the second. And summary of your skills, that means it's optional, but whatever it may be, whether you can have the skills, and the skills should be represented in the next. And the second thing is, and the next one is work experience. You have to mention about your work experience in the format of how you are going to help in the previous company, that will be represented here. And your education qualifications and professional affairs with optionals, and the military information also very important for that. And your contact information, what I said you, what I told you, that is very important. Means how you are going to get your contact information, and your contact information is the most important part for your resume. It plays a wonderful. That means it's an important role for the resume. It can be represented with the name and address, city and pin code, and a telephone number, email. And while you are writing email, you should be careful about that, whether you are going to write the email address in a proper way or not. That is most important thing. Then next we go to another important task, that is how to make impact of the resumes. A resume must be a statement that includes the job title that you want, and the main reason why they should consider you for the position, and why should they consider for your good. The position has to be most important for a candidate that make an impact, and how you are going to help, how you are going to help the people, how you are going to help the company is also most important thing. And that's the main purpose of the writing resume, and it's an objective. A short statement, as we know that a short statement that include the job title you want, and whatever the job title you want, that may be a short statement that should include, and the main reason why they should consider you for the position, and are they really considering you for the position is also most important thing that we have to learn about the objective of the resume. And career profile is a short paragraph, like 3 to 5 sentences, and not more than five. It should be that means sentence one, sentence two, sentence three, sentence four is sentence five. That's enough for saying about your career profile and your objective profile, your resume profile, and your experience and your qualification that could be mentioned in within the highlighted method. So don't go through with the paragraph of the career profile with only 5 sentences, not more than five. It should be if you can write like a paragraph or like a summary, it's not a good. It cannot create a good impact on the reader's mind, and that has to highlight your experience and a qualification. It must be for career profile and that match your job what you are applying for. That means if you are not applying, some extent, if you can say that if you had a experience working in bank sector, and then you are going to have a job, then you are going to attend an interview in software companies, that can be a different part, and try to take some of the main important collaborative points within these two objectives, these two jobs, and that can be related for your job. And another important thing is that skills related to job that you are seeking are strength, key accomplishments, include the skill that you are directly relevant to the job what you are seeking. That means what are the skills that you have, and that can be how your skills can be helpful in the helpful for the company is most important thing. Helpful for the company is most important thing, and use the strength and accomplishment to highlight these skills, and try to explain your strengths, and that can be helpful for your particular company that what you are applying for the job. And your education qualifications can be included, and it's not necessary to enclose your qualifications, but when you are going to attend just you have to show your certificates of degrees, like the list of diplomas, degrees or certificates, and the school name and the city or state what where you are from, and if you did not graduate college, list the total semester that you are completed, and if you are not able to complete your postgraduate, that means some extent you are going to attend for the final examination, final semester examinations. Try to show your certificates of the, that is amount of marks that will be shortlisted, and that can be easily understood by the interviewer, and list of the date the completion that you are going to receive in the graduates in last years. And if you have any military experience about your father and mother, that can be also listed. As part of your work experience if it's chronological recent, or if it is related to the job you are seeking, you can also list the military training under the education, and branch of the service that lost rank may be listed under the separate heading. It is easy to far back include the part of your work experience. And structure of your resume should be consistent in structure to make easy for the readers to skim through your resume and quickly to without confusion. And as you know that skimming is one of the skill about the reading skill. And in reading skills we can go through with the skimming and scanning. Skimming and scanning means we can easily scan. That means as we all know that while we are reading a word, we move on to the next word for our eyes, and we read the first word. So this is what we can say about the scanning. And skimming means just go through with the important words what the reader can easily understand, and what reader wants to know, that can be skimmed through the resume and without any confusion, and be simple while you are writing your resume about the vocabulary. And font size should be 10 to 12, and it should be bold, and that can be name for the name and the positions and dates and months, years, and the paper color should be white, spacing one or two line spacing, and most probably if you are most probably that means the letters which you are going to write in a resume should be bold for the name and positions and places, and your headings that we can say that headings that you can show in bold letter, and try to take the 12 to 10 to 12 points, and use the short bulleted statements, use the numbers of the percentages, and avoid the personal pronunciations like I and or me, and start your statements with the action verbs. Start your statement with action verb. It means what you can do, what are the helpful things that you can do for the company that should be presented in here. And the disadvantages of the chronological resume is it is easy to follow, but and doesn't hide the flaw in this work history. Flaws in the work history means you cannot show those flaws in your work history. Work history shows the progression, such as job changing or spotty work in the history. That means, yes, I already told you that how we are going to left our job, and why do we left the previous job is also most important thing. And your objectives at summary is a name for similar to your recent experience, and doesn't allow flexibility to change the objectives and something different from your experience. And easy to follow. The next we will go through with the functional usage of your resumes. Uses career profile and in live of your objective. Focuses on the job seeker's knowledge and the skill and ability. And list of the company that you can work in previous, and title and the names and the job dates, from which dates to which date you have been worked in that particular company. Maybe the list of the years of experiences in the function. And functional resume maybe how also advantages and disadvantages, like dates and positions should not emphasize it. That means we are not going to make it a clarification of the statements of our dates and experience, whatever we want. And skill experience of the farm from not so recent jobs can be emphasized. And employers are sometimes suspicious of this format because it can be disguise the negative information. We can disguise the we cannot show our negative impact in the resume. Why? Because it can be just a bad. It can be shows a bad impact on the readers or interviewers' mind, so that we can keep it aside. Hide the downwards regressions, and employers may assume that all our skills are current, and objective may be different from the your experience, and the absence of the dates may be confuse the employer, and an appropriate when we are considering the career change, and appropriate when we are considering a career change. And emailing scanning tips, just we have to look about that, and choose conventional fonts like Arial and Chroma and Times New Roman. That can be Times New Roman is very useful for presenting a resume, and fonts should be just 10 to 12, and avoid a lot of bold and italic tables like underlining, and don't go through with italic and tables of underlining. Just you have to put some headings in the bold letter, and that is also should be size of the font should be 10 to 12, and use keywords for your industrial job, and don't go through with the header. And creating a covering letter is also most important. Why do we create a covering letter? It accomplishes a resume, tells the employers that why she is receiving, why she is receiving a resume, and use it to convince the employer. And simple that it is very simple covering letter that we have to write a letter for applying a job, and use it to convince the employers why you are the best candidate. You are the best candidate, and you can show your ability and your skills that can be in covering letter, and that can understand the position which you are applying for, and why should you consider for the interview. And the first, your covering letter should be include your contact information, so that the prospective employer can be get it in touch with you. Include the current date, and most of the interviewers and most of the resumes that we can see nowadays, they are sending a letter, sending a letter means sending a resume with a old date. That means more employer, they don't want to concentrate on the resume's date, so that it can create a bad impact on the reader's mind as well as the interviewer's mind. So the second thing you have to cover, they must include your name and hearing the manager, and title of the company, and the name and address that followed the proper situation. And address should be in a proper way, that otherwise a covering letter cannot be treated as a good thing for writing a letter. And important that never use the salutation to whom it may be concerned. That means you are writing a letter directly to the company. So don't try to use the word. If you are not able to use this particular word, like to whomsoever it may concern, it cannot create a good impact. That means, particularly you are sending this letter to the a particular company, then it must be seen by the particular person. And the covering letter may consist the third part, that should be include the least of three paragraphs. At least three paragraphs means whatever first paragraph may consist the position of you applying for the job, and where do you found the job and posting, and first paragraph, and what you have to offer in the middle of the paragraph should be mentioned here, and how you want to be contacted at your employee time and availability, that can be said in third paragraph. And reference page is preferable to a separate page and do not include in your resume, and reference available upon the request. And prepare at least three references, usually either two professionals and one personal from three personals, and another unprofessionals. It means you have to include at least three references, and the first two references must be about your for this particular profession, and second must be about your personal, that may be your father or brother or whoever it may be, who are in a higher position. And take the reference page with your at the time of the interview, and but not submit only if they requested by the separate purpose of the employers. And thank you for lettering, sending immediately after an interview. That means after receiving a letter, that means an interview card, you are also send the replying card is also most important thing. That is what you can say thank you letter. Send immediately after an interview, card or letter or phone call or email, whatever it may be. Just now I received your interview letter, and you can say that thank for sending the interview card or interview letter. A thank letter may be re-emphasize your value to the company, and restates your interest in the position. If you are received a call letter from interview letter from the company, just try to make a confirmation whether you are got the interview letter or not. If you can really interested, if you can make a call, or if you can make a letter, if you can make a email, you made a mini email, that can create a good impact. That means that shows your interest, your personal interest about the job and particular company must be. And small things do matter, and you may think that it's just an extra work for you, but what it may be, you should be very uh, keen observation about. You should have keen observation about the particular interviews for the jobs also. And why? Because it must be create impact of the create a good impact of the reader, and as well as the interviewers also. You may think that it's just a fun, but whatever may be, take it as a serious matter for attending interviews. But it may be make the difference between the being employed or unemployed. So unemployed must be careful about this particular issues while you are sending the resumes to different companies. You should be aware of this, what's going on in particular company, and how you are going to receive letters, and how you are going to receive interview letters. That might be very important. It's all about the getting a good job, and always think positive and don't go to the negative attitude. So negative attitude about the company or negative attitude towards the life, and be confident, be prepared, and be yourself. And remember to keep your focus on the big picture, not for the low one. And from this, I would like to conclude my session. Thank you for being with us.